I don't know if you remember this, but when we were kids, we were told that our leaders should be people we could look up to and actually aspire to be, right? Don't get me wrong. In my lifetime, there haven't been that many presidents I've admired or looked up to, but that was the premise, at least, right? Just for example, we were always told that anybody could grow up to be president. Now, about that second thing, I actually thought that something was implied there. In other words, anybody who works really hard and serves his or her country and understands government, right? Anybody who does all of those things can be president. And then I didn't realize until 2016, really, that they literally meant anybody. Like even the biggest idiot, the most unqualified, least prepared, kind of most hideous human being on the planet. And I mean hideous, metaphorically speaking. So, as you have probably been aware, Donald has been out in front of the cameras almost constantly after giving us a brief reprieve for about a week. He is back and forth. And the more I see him, the more I the more mystified I am, I should say, that anybody, no matter how sycophantic or loyal, could look at and listen to him and think that he is somebody to be admired. Like it is becoming shocking just how little he has to offer and how exactly the opposite of what we were told should be a leader he is. All he does is whine, obfuscate, engage in revisionist history and cruelty. So it sort of makes you wonder because right now, with everything that's going on because of him with Iran, why does he want to be in front of the camera? He doesn't know what he's doing, and he certainly doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, he needs to be on camera. Like, I think that's how he defines it. That's the only way Donald Trump knows he's alive, is if he has a camera in front of him, rolling tape. But there's something else going on too, because it's not just that he's in front of the camera. It's the way he's handling the questions that are being asked of him, because nobody wants to talk about anything other than his threats against Iran. A country, by the way, that hasn't threatened us in any way. He is simply spinning this out so he keeps getting attention. All of this, maybe not all of this, but most of this is the direct result of his recent and, quite frankly, unending humiliations, from his obscene and pathetic parade on Saturday to the massive protests against him and his administration to his just miserable performance at the G7 to his unhinged interviews on Air Force One afterwards. Humiliation after humiliation after humiliation. So this is about changing the subject, staying the center of attention, and making sure nobody really knows what's going to happen, so they keep their cameras trained on him. The problem here, however, just besides the fact that it is just deeply annoying and a waste of our time, is that Donald Trump doesn't know what's going to happen either. And that concerns me. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to be here with you. Yes, lots going on in one particular area. Certainly today at a press conference in the Oval Office, Donald tried to appear strong when asked about escalating tensions with Iran. But of course, because he's him, he reassured absolutely no one. CNN's Caitlin Collins pressed him on the question everybody wants to know. Will the United States of America join Israel in its attacks on Iran? Here's Donald's answer.
Does that mean you haven't made a decision yet on what to do?
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change. I mean, especially with war. Things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine. A lot of wars there was no reason for.
I did not know he was a philosopher. And that tie, my word. Okay, so he has some ideas, but he's really not going to make up his mind until the last possible second. Well, that sounds responsible. Also, by the way, he's treating all of this, a potential war, unprovoked, by the way, by the other side, that would put American troops in harm's way, would definitely put the American people in a precarious situation, as if it's, some school project he's been procrastinating about. Yeah, he'll get it done at the last second because things change. But here's the thing. Obviously, such a decision should take a lot of thought. And the person making that decision should actually know what's going on in the country. He seems very eager to attack. We already know that Donald doesn't know anything, so that doesn't even factor into it. But here's the problem. He's the president of the United States of America. He is not yet the dictator. He is not yet the monarch. There are other people who need to be involved in this very, very critical decision. As far as I can tell, it doesn't seem like any of them have any real input here. So we're talking about attacking a country over its potential to be able to make nuclear bombs. That's, that is something that should worry all of us. So here, a journalist set Donald up to assuage those fears, but instead they were made worse. Take a look at this.
With Iran, what's your message to Americans both here and abroad who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, It's a lot of water over the dam. But, it's very, I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it. I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it. But I believe they'd use it. So that's it. It's very simple as far as I'm concerned. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, that sounds simple. I believe he would use our insane arsenal. We have over, I think, 5,700 nuclear warheads in this country that Donald Trump is in charge of. Okay, he has been saying for 20 years that Iran can have nuclear capability. Interesting, then, that during his first administration, and I know I've said this before, and forgive me for repeating myself, but it is incredibly important that we understand just either how big a liar he is when it comes to the issue, or how little he understands, or how little he remembers. Because this is somebody who does not understand the nuances of war and global conflict and is not interested in doing so. During Barack Obama's administration, I think the second term of Barack Obama, the United States, along with other nations, crafted something called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, also known as the Iran deal or the Iran nuclear deal. That was specifically designed as an agreement between nations to limit its nuclear program. There were concessions made, et cetera, but that was the purpose of the JCPOA. If Donald Trump was so interested in making sure that Iran did not have nuclear weapons at its disposal, why in the world in 2018 did he withdraw the United States from the Iran nuclear deal? I honestly, I do not understand why that question is not asked of him at every single opportunity. Not that he would answer it honestly, but now he's trying to pretend that he was trying to get Iran to sign some deal, even though he made it clear to Iran back in 2018 that Iran had absolutely no reason, none at all, to abide by the agreement he pulled us out of. Of course, he's Donald, so he can't focus for very long on any one thing. So he went off topic and said a lot of troubling things, especially coming from somebody in the Oval Office, including that the Civil War, the war that the North fought against the South, for what reason exactly? I'm sure there are a lot of Republicans out there who would say something hideous like states' rights. No, to free the people this country enslaved for generations. Watch this clip.
Right up there, I don't know, see the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War, it always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people. So a lot of, it's very sad to see. It's very sad to see what's happening.
What exactly is happening? Like, what is he referring to that's happening? I mean, look, Donald is a racist, but even for him, this seems kind of beyond the pale. He's essentially saying that he does not understand why we needed to fight the Civil War, and we could have worked something out, I guess. But he doesn't understand at the most basic level the conflicts this country has always been grappling with. And here we are, where he is in a position to make all of them worse. Sadly for them, there were some guests there. The Italian Juventus football club was there, and Donald made them feel extraordinarily uncomfortable because he spent his time with them, or at least part of it, bashing trans people and basically blatantly saying a woman could never make their team. One member of the team brushed him off, saying that their women's team was excellent. See, I guess you have to be from another country in order to confront Donald Trump to his face. American journalists, please pay attention. Also, Republican elected official. Oh, who am I kidding? Republicans are all in on this. But Donald is not going to admit how ill-prepared he is for war. So what does he do? When he feels unprepared, he can't admit that. He can't say he doesn't know something unless it's to evade responsibility for something. So he turns to one of his favorite pastimes, which is a favorite pastime among all Republicans these days, knocking trans people for absolutely no reason. That is less than 1% of the population in this country. And Donald Trump can't stop talking about it. And this all while his guests, an Italian soccer team, had to stand behind him and listen. If he sounds like a crazy person during this, it's because he is one. Just want you guys, please, to take a second before we move on to like and share our videos, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, or rate and follow the podcast. Now, these days, very few people want Donald rambling at their events because his ramblings are always some mix of incomprehensibility, bigotry, and cruelty. So this year, Donald is not skipping the NAACP annual convention. He actually got kicked off the guest list. So here's ABC7 Chicago with that report.
The NAACP announced that it will not invite President Donald Trump to its national convention next month in Charlotte, North Carolina. This marks the first time the civil rights organization has ever opted to exclude a sitting president in its 116-year history. NAACP President Derek Johnson said he believes the Trump administration is working against the NAACP's mission. This comes after the organization has filed lawsuits against the Trump administration over its handling of the Department of Education and changes to voting regulations.
First of all, good for you, NAACP. Secondly, I'm not sure what took you so long. In a statement, the organization said that having Donald there would be, quote, a waste of our time and energy to give a platform to fascism, unquote. Currently, the NAACP is fighting to block the SAVE Act. That's a piece of legislation proposed by the Trump regime that would put stricter, unfair voting laws in place. It's a blatant attempt to strip millions of people of the right to vote. And not surprisingly, it would disproportionately affect people of color and other minorities. The decision to uninvite Donald is not about whether he's a Republican or a Democrat. Every single president since 1909 has addressed the convention. The difference is that previous presidents, at a minimum, pretended at least to respect the Constitution. But Donald, as we know, hasn't read it and therefore can't even pretend. He doesn't have a right to be in a room full of people who are trying to advance civil rights while he and his party deliberately and maliciously go after those same rights. Now, while many Americans are getting fed up with Donald, the Fed is standing firm against his admonitions that they do his bidding. Today, the Fed announced that they were once again keeping interest rates steady, a move that is designed, well, that's wrong. That's a move designed to help our economy, but it has the extra added benefit of infuriating Donald. Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, spoke before the press today, answering questions and giving his reasons to keep the interest rate steady. Let's take a look at CNBC's coverage of Powell's event.
What we're waiting for to reduce rates is to understand what will happen with really the tariff inflation. And there's a lot of uncertainty about that. Every forecaster you can name who is a professional forecaster with adequate resources and forecasts for a living is forecasting pretty significant. Everyone that I know is forecasting a meaningful increase in inflation in coming months from tariffs because someone has to pay for the tariffs. And it will be someone in that chain that I mentioned between the manufacturer, the exporter, the importer, the retailer, ultimately somebody putting it into a good of some kind or just the consumer buying it. And all through that chain, people will be trying not to be the ones who pick up the cost. But ultimately, the cost of the tariff has to be paid. And some of it will fall on the end consumer. We know that because that's what businesses say. That's what the data say from past. So we know that's coming. And we just want to see a little bit of that before we make judgments prematurely.
Ultimately, the tariffs have to be paid. And that will likely be the American consumer. Well, let's see. Who's responsible for this mess? That would be Donald. Now, he has spent the last few months imploring Powell to lower interest rates, calling him names, insulting him, threatening to fire him, which is illegal, by the way. And in fact, Donald was already insulting Powell again before this call was even made by the Fed today. Take a look at what he had to say this morning at his press conference.
So we have a stupid person, frankly, at the Fed. He probably won't cut today. Europe had 10 cuts, and we had none. And I guess he's a political guy. I don't know. He's a political guy who's not a smart person, but he's costing the country a fortune. So what I'm going to do is, he gets out in about 9 months. He gets fortunately terminated. I mean, if you look at him, every time I did this, I was right 100%. He was wrong. Maybe I should go to the Fed. Am I allowed to appoint myself, Doug? I don't know. Am I allowed to appoint myself at the Fed? I do a much better job than these people.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. The whining, the insulting, calling very smart people stupid just because they won't do what he wants them to do. If Donald were running the Fed, this country would be in even worse economic shape than it already is, because Powell made it quite clear. The Fed is not cutting rates because inflation is probably going to go up again because of Donald's tariffs, and somebody has to pay for them. Europe cut rates because Europe didn't institute an unprovoked trade war with the rest of the world. Somebody has to look out for America's best interest, and it's not going to be Donald. One, because, again, he doesn't know what he's doing. All of the moves he's made vis-a-vis the economy since getting back into office on January 20th have weakened us as a nation, have weakened us in terms of our global standing. He has alienated our trading partners, and he has literally put the American and the world economies on the brink. So good for Jerome Powell. And I'm pretty sure, Donald, I know this might be very difficult for you to understand. Jerome Powell probably doesn't give a shit what you have to say about him, because he knows as well as I do what a colossal moron you are. In even more disturbing news, actually, a new ruling by the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority in the Supreme Court will have major implications for people across the country. Today, those 6 corrupt, illegitimate members of the supermajority followed Donald's lead in attacking trans youth in this country, but they did it in a way that codifies people's rights to attack trans people. They voted in favor of Republican legislation in Tennessee against gender-affirming care for transgender minors. This 6-3 ruling will impact 24 other states that have similar laws enacted, effectively banning gender transition surgery, puberty blockers, and hormone therapy for trans youth. Activists call this a major loss, with groups like the ACLU already fighting back. And fighting back, or trying to, or at least writing for history, is Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Justice Sotomayor made the rare move of reading a summary of her decision from the bench in court, saying the impact of the decision is, quote unquote, incredibly dangerous. She continued, quote, by retreating from meaningful judicial review exactly where it matters most, the court abandons transgender children and their families to political whims. In sadness, I dissent, unquote. The damage this corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court has already done to this country is incalculable. I am afraid that we can expect more of the same, but I think it's very important to take a moment to think about the cruel injustice that they are engaged in against an extraordinarily tiny and vulnerable segment of our population. All right. I think it's time for an emotional support moment. Yesterday, if you'll remember, I led you to believe, I should say, that we were going to look at scenes from the International Space Station of our extraordinary planet. And I talked about how awesome our planet is and how great it would be if the people in charge of almost everything cared about it and acted as responsible stewards of it. But instead, we saw photos from the Hubble telescope, which I confess I also loved. I find that very calming. But let's do as I promised yesterday. Let's go up to the space station and enjoy the view from above of our planet and breathe, because once again, it has been another extraordinarily heavy news day. Enjoy. Almost makes me want to live there. Can we play that again? Okay. No, we can't. All right. Let us get to your questions, comments, etc. First of all, we have a new member. Allie, thank you so much and welcome. It is great to have you here. And Dan, another new member. Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Oh, bunch of new members. Gail, welcome to you and thank you. Mida Cheryl doing her Mida Cheryl thing and gifting 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much, Mida Cheryl. Fantastic. And again, it's like always back to back. It's the gifted membership and then it's the Mida Cheryl fee. And today it's Happy Hump Day fee. Whale video, please. Yes, I think we're coming due for a whale video. I am right there with you. We are on it. Greg, thank you so much for that comment. I need a Wind in the Pines ESM. Okay. If that's literally what you mean, we can do that for sure. If it means something else, let us know. Lori, thank you so very much for that. And Lori also gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Mary, thank you very much, Mary. And this is a Pricing Underground Bunkers fee. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the absolutely unhinged Tulsi Gabbard video about Hiroshima and our impending nuclear doom. But basically, I mean, I think she was, it was a shot across the bow to Donald. But at one point, she was basically saying, the rich people and the people running everything are totally down with nuclear war because they can afford expensive bunkers. I'm not entirely sure that's true. I don't care how nice your bunker is. I don't think you would be down with destroying the planet. I think they just think that they can get away with a lot, and they think that their way is the right way, and I don't think it has to do with living in a bunker. But you know what? Maybe we should all start saving up just in case. Just me, thank you so much as always. It's great to see you. Cool comment. I don't understand how Donald Netanyahu can possibly think that involvement in war and/or forced regime change can have any other effect than to perpetuate hate for Israel and the U.S. for future generations. Yeah, I don't get it either, quite frankly. It is short-sighted, and again, though, we know that real diplomacy, the kind of diplomacy that takes enormous amount of nuance and statecraft and cooperation and takes years, worked, and Donald blew that. So on the one hand, I understand that nobody wants Iran to have nuclear weapons, but I don't see how this is the way, and I don't see, especially with everything that's happened in Gaza, and with how unpopular both Netanyahu and Donald are, I don't see how an unprovoked, let's not call it unprovoked, a war of choice, shall we say, is the way to go. And I think the other part of the problem here is that region is so complex that Donald doesn't even understand the tiniest fraction of what anybody would need to understand in order to avoid catastrophe. I don't think Netanyahu is much better. Yeah, it's troubling. Diane, thanks so much, Diane. That is a whale song fee. Question. Has anyone heard when Donald is going to send troops, National Guard, I think, to Florida? Is something going on in Florida? First of all, thank you for the whale song fee. I love whale song. Has anybody ever heard whale song underwater? It's really cool. Or actually, even above water. It's It's really neat. I don't know what's going on in Florida, but as far as I know, I mean, we haven't seen anything, but we will keep our eyes peeled. I don't. Interesting. We'll see. Dodie, thank you as always. Comment, love you, Mary. Kitty treats from Zach. Thank you, Zach. Zach has very good taste. It's true. In cat treats. Lucy, a super sticker. Thanks so much, Lucy. Really appreciate that. Jacqueline, comments. Donald should be spending this much time on the internal civil unrest inside the U.S., but instead he feeds it by calling everyone radical lunatics. Well, he wants it, though. That's the thing we need to remember. I know it's counterintuitive because what sane person wants civil unrest inside his own country? Well, he does. He's not sane. And two, it benefits him. I mean, this has been true of him for decades. He benefits from division. He just does. And he will continue to stoke it the more desperate and humiliated he becomes. Ula, Mary, he pulled out of it because it was Obama's. He hates anything attached to Obama. He's obsessed with him. Yeah, I think that's entirely true. I think that's a big part of it. That plus ignorance, but he's doing similar things with Biden. Most of Biden's policies are getting completely erased or reversed or upended. That's the guy 74 million Americans decided to put back in charge. Yep. Regina, thank you so much as always. Oh, I hope you're still here because this is a have to leave early fee. Super sticker, where's your aloha? Thanks so much. From Kathy, from our the Substack. Question: American journalists never American journalists never retort him why they should access. I mean, some of it's cowardice. Some of it is a lot of these so-called reporters are plants. They're from very friendly news organizations that are in the tank for Donald, and their job is to lob softball questions at him. But I think for a lot of them, it's access. If you press him, he will make it impossible for you to be in the press room or ask him questions anymore. I think there's a point at which you have to stand up and say enough is enough. I mean, we know people who do that. I can introduce you to Brian Karam, one of the Nerd Avengers. Francie gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thanks so much, Francie. That's fantastic. Kay, thanks so much for that. It is an FDT fee. I'm pretty sure I know what that stands for. Fuck Donald Trump. Let's say it together. I think that's fair. Pam, super sticker. Thanks so very much, Pam. Gidget, thanks so much for that. It's fantastic. Comment, sending lots of love and support from Jess and my mom, Pat. This presidency depresses the shit out of me, but you are a shining ray of hope in all this darkness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. And, as I say often, this is really important to all of us at Mary Trump Media that we be in this fight, and we're not going anywhere. So the fact that you guys appreciate it means the world to us. So thank you. Sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this. My apologies. Cyanide. I don't know. I'm sorry. But anyway, thank you so much. Canadian in the house, elbows up. Comment. Donald's narcissistic psychopathy leads me to believe that he's already threatened Iran with a nuclear attack in his ultimate ultimatum. Yeah, never trust somebody who doesn't know what the word ultimatum means. That's one thing. Never trust somebody who says he has ideas in his head about what to do, but nobody else knows what they are. I would put nothing past him at this point. He's flailing and desperate and therefore increasingly dangerous because nobody's doing anything to stop him. And I don't think anybody can. Sort of. Anyway, moving on. Haas, thank you so very much for that comment. Greetings from Germany. Please don't be as stupid as we have been. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yes, well, I'm afraid we are, but all is not lost yet. You know, there's still hope, but this is we are cutting it way too close, and you know that better than anybody. Rock and Steady, thank you so very much. Oh, for the swear jar. Yeah, thank you. It's getting full. I'm trying to be better about it, though, actually. More judicious in my swearing. Suki56, thank you so much, as always. Question, did Donnie leave last night to change his bags? Just saying. I don't know what that means, and I probably shouldn't. But thank you, Suki56. Pam, super sticker. Thank you so much, Pam. That's fantastic. And that does it for us. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Yeah, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. And it's been a really tough week already because the week started on Saturday. So there's that. So we really appreciate, we know it's a lot. So we appreciate more than ever that you guys are still showing up because it's important. It's really important that we keep our eyes open and know what's going on. It just is. So thank you for sharing all of this with us. Thank you to everybody who watching on YouTube, everybody streaming on Twitter and on my Substack, The Good in Us, everybody listening to the podcast, to everybody who is joining the paid memberships, all of our super stickers, everybody giving us gifts. We so appreciate it. Just a reminder that if you haven't already, please do check out the paid membership levels. Those are just extras. That has nothing to do with subscribing to the channel, which remains the easiest way to support us. It's free, gives you access to all the live shows and all the videos we have dropping. The second easiest way to support us is to watch those pre-recorded videos, like them, share them with other people, comment on them. That helps us with the Twitter algorithm. But definitely check out the paid memberships. And if you're so inclined, check out my Substack, The Good in Us. There's an amazing like-minded community over there as well. And, you know, my goal is to make that Venn diagram a circle one of these days. So to our moderators who just continue to do amazing work here. Oh, I have a couple other people I want to thank quickly. Susan, thanks so much, Susan. Comment, keep speaking the truth, Mary. Yeah, you know what the thing is about speaking the truth? It's really easy. Or it should be. And Ellen, thanks again for being a super sticker. That's fantastic. Okay. Where was I? Oh, yes, my phenomenal team. Because, I mean, maybe I just want to point out to you guys why I thank them every day. Because every single day, it's like they're going into enemy territory and having to face down the horrors and make sense of it all to help us all understand what's happening in the world and, you know, what we should be paying attention to, what we don't have to worry about at that particular day. And trust me, this is not easy. So, and they do it so extraordinarily well. And they keep their sense of humor, which is quite something. So thanks as always, guys. All right. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's Mary Trump Live, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Ask Mary Anything Within Reason is also at Sundays at 6 p.m. And do not forget, we have videos dropping every day in addition to the live. So please check those out. We really, really think that you're going to get a lot out of them and enjoy them as well. Okay. So that does it. I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.